So my mom, she found a bunch of photos that I took back in like high school and stuff, like with a camera. And she's like, here. So when I went to pick up Kingston yesterday, she's like, hey, there's a envelope, from like, like one of these things from Walmart from way back in the day. And it had like, I don't know, 4 different envelopes shoved into it too. And like 2 of them just had negatives in it. So it was really just 2 envelopes. But oh man, there were some doozies in there. I was like, oh.
From I imagine lots of oversized baggy jean shorts.
No, nothing like that. It's just
When I think of young Kris, that's what.
yeah. No, there's a picture of me with red hair. So that was fun. That was from like literally like next month it'll be 25 years ago. Like, and that's what really threw me for is like I doing the math and I'm like I was a teenager and I'm like 25. Oh, I'm like, oh God, I really am old.
Yep. It all hits you at once.
Yeah.
Facebook. It was a couple years ago, but a girl that I was friends with in high school posted a picture of me, and we were like hanging out after school, and I've got my little Red Wings cap on.
Mm-hmm.
I look like I'm like 11 years old, and I'm clearly like I know where this was. It was high school, and Holly saw it and just like
started laughing.
Oh yeah, and just like let me take a picture of that so I can show all my friends. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, man, that was 26 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate everything.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So
is it your 20th has to be this year or next, or was it last year?
It was last year.
Okay. I forgot how young you guys. I knew you guys were all in high school when I started working at Doug and Ted's, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah, so our 20th was last year. So, and our class just doesn't give an F, so we didn't do anything. Like there was no reunion or anything. So
I mean, it's Tecumseh. Everyone's still kind of around here anyway, right?
Yeah, pretty much. That's fair. That is fair. All right. Let's let's get into the wrestling talk. The draft talk. We got wrestling, WWE and Lions drafts to talk about today. So
yeah, wake me up when you get to the second one of those.
Okay, yeah. Well, we're not actually going to talk about the draft itself per se, the WWE draft, because it was varying degrees depending on people's opinions. Ranged from it was pointless to it was okay. Like that's pretty much where the spectrum is. I actually have some ideas on how to fix it, and not just like the draft itself, but like the whole calendar as far as like movement with these rosters and stuff like that. And then I did want to go, I have the rosters, and I kind of wanted to like slot people like, okay, here's our world title contenders, here's our mid card title contenders, and so forth, so forth. And then we can do a quick Backlash preview.
I don't know. Will we have time to get through that card? Is pretty loaded.
Right. And once we get through that, if you're not totally sick of me hearing me talk about Backlash, I will be once again joining the fellas at Late Night Grin. Well, tonight as you're watching this at 10:30 to preview Backlash. So tune into that and all the
save all your good takes for that show, Kris.
Yeah, right.
The one that people watch.
Yeah. And then once we get through all that, which shouldn't take us too long, we'll talk about the Lions draft. So.
Yeah, like I said, wake me up in about 20 minutes.
Okay.
I'm gonna zone out here.
All right, sounds good. So yeah, the draft happened this week, and it was kind of like we said, it was kind of not a whole lot happened. There wasn't a whole lot of movement. especially with the big names. I thought having the champions protected would be a benefit, and I think it wasn't. It was kind of like, okay, well, once those guys are kind of off the board, like there's not really I don't know, some of the intrigue gets kind of lost. But I was thinking, and I'm not the only one that has come up with a variation of this idea. I've heard it on a different podcast this week, but I was thinking of ways to, like, if they want to insist on doing this every year, how do we do this where A, it makes sense, B, it's not a complete waste of time, and C, like, everyone knows that, like, we did all this, the roster supposedly lock on Monday, but we're gonna go 2 weeks and someone from Raw is gonna end up showing up on SmackDown. So it's like, how do we fix this? And I thought, okay, so the draft itself, going forward, should be, especially with the move to CW, should be an NXT only thing. And Raw and SmackDown should be drafting prospects from NXT. And that doesn't necessarily, and this wouldn't necessarily mean that these people would automatically jump up to the main roster. It'd be like a baseball or a hockey draft, where these are prospects in their system. And then throughout the year, yeah, a couple of them, like your Braun Breakers and your Carmelo Hayes, using this year as an example, and your Dragunovs, they would come right up. But some of these other ones, like, say someone drafted Trick Williams. Well, he's obviously the champion down there, so he would stay down there. And you could bring him, let's say Raw drafted him. Raw could bring him up a couple different times a year for showcase matches or whatever. Raw could also send some of their people down to NXT to work with him down there. And like, so you do however many picks of the draft that you want to do. On one episode of NXT, and then those, whoever, the brands have the quote unquote rights to those wrestlers for like a year, and then if they're not called up full time by the time you do the draft next year, then they go back in the pool to get redrafted and stuff like that. So that's that part of it. As far as the main roster goes, I think they need to run it like a, if you want to do, you got either got to be like all in or all out as far as if you want to run this like a real sports thing. I just think you should go, WrestleMania is the finale, the quote unquote season finale, right? So I would say after WrestleMania, for that 4-week period or whatever until the next pay-per-view, you have like a open movement time period where people they can explore their options of whether they want to stay on the brand they're on or possibly make a jump to the other brand. And then, so it's like a free agency period basically. And then once you get through that, so like Backlash, same thing. Everyone would have to make their decisions on where they're headed by Backlash. And then, look, if you still want to, you need Cody to show up on Raw one week. Well, you just write it in like, hey, we're doing a talent exchange this week. Like, it's wrestling. You can make it up as you go along, but you just got to make it make sense. And
it's wrestling. That doesn't happen, like, ever.
Sure.
But okay.
Sure. And you can do trades. Like, I think they should be doing trades throughout the year too, instead of doing like, because basically they traded, it just, in the grand scheme of things, they just essentially traded a couple people back and forth, but the majority of the people just stayed where they were. So instead of just doing this draft, just have like trades throughout the year, and have a deadline of either January 1st or the Rumble, if you want to push it out, as like the deadline, and after the Rumble, everyone's locked in, and we go until WrestleMania with the way the rosters are.
That might make it better. I think the concept in general is just played out, and it doesn't make any sense in general because there's only two brands. There's only two possible, like, a talent either stays on the show they're on or they go to the other one. There's no building of a real roster because you lose Randy Orton, that's a big deal. Well, then I'm just gonna pick up Seth Rollins because by you taking Randy Orton, I get to take Seth Rollins or what? It doesn't. There's no drama in it because there's not really a major shift when a big name goes. If certain guys are protected and like Roman Reigns can just say I'm not gonna be in the draft, like okay. Like it's just the concept doesn't work for me because it's like playing Uno against one other person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I've got all the skip cards, like what is it? I just get to keep. It's played out. The idea of the NXT thing, I could get behind that, especially if it was like, okay, you drafted Tiffany Stratton, you've got to make a decision. But if you sign her, you have to send down a main roster person to NXT.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's real stakes of like, well, do you call somebody up? If you want to call up Tiffany Stratton, you have to send Nia Jax to NXT.
Right.
That I could get behind. But the whole like, well, with the first pick, Raw selects whomever. And if it wasn't like, oh, Seth Rollins is the number one pick coming out of WrestleMania, it makes no sense anyway.
Right.
You were being very nice. That draft was dog shit. Like I tried, I actually watched it as it was happening on Friday. I'm like, this sucks. This is really bad. I'm like, oh, maybe they'll save it for Monday. And then I watched what happened on Monday. I'm like, that was a complete waste of time. It was exciting 20 years ago when it first happened. It's been done so much now, it's not interesting.
Yeah,
it's just not.
It's not. Yeah, the way that they do it, there's no need to do it every year because you either have like what you had this year where not a lot of people moved, or like you said, because there's only two brands, you have a bunch of movement, and then everyone just ends up on the same show. They're just on a different night.
Well, they all end up with the same PLEs. They all end up intermingling throughout the year. Like, oh, the Bloodline is still on SmackDown, but main event Jey Uso's on Raw. We know it. Like, they're coming together at some point. Clearly, like it's a played out concept. It's not interesting, and it's especially not interesting when literally nobody of importance moved from one show to another. No one moved that was like, ooh, that's a big get.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I thought there would be a little bit more movement, especially with some of the top guys. But fortunately, no. Everyone just kind of stayed put. So, but
and the other thing too is like, this is the perfect time of year to where like it would have been great to shake things up because we've talked about it. It's how I'm feeling right now. Like this time of year, it sucks to watch the WWE is stale this time of year, and it always is because you're coming off the high of Mania,
mm-hmm.
and you're waiting till business picks up at Money in the Bank, SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
You could have infused a little life into these rosters by giving them new, like, oh, this wasn't a match we thought we were going to get 3 weeks ago. And they just, for whatever reason, stuck with let's keep the rosters at 90% of what they are.
Right. Well, and that's why I think, like I said, that's why having a 30-day or whatever it amounts to be in, that next cycle of free, and then you can have get crazy with it, for that 4 or 5 weeks until the next show, and then kind of settle things to keep that intrigue up after Mania, and then kind of settle things and go from there.
I mean, maybe like, was it 05? Yeah, it was 05, where like Cena got drafted to Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Like the draft took place over multiple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like you had these weird convergences of the roster. And then like at the end of the time, it was when Batista got moved to SmackDown. But for like 4 weeks there,
both champions
Cena
were in Raw. Yeah.
Right. Like you could at least do that, but like it starts on Friday and ends on Monday, but it doesn't really end until the next Monday, and you don't see all the trades or whatever. Like just lame, just really bad.
So, but I was like, all right, let's see here. Let's see what we got for the year or so. Oh wow, that's small. I can't read that. Hold on. I'm gonna have to make this bigger. Ha 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 ha.
Code Blue Chew at checkout.
Yeah, exactly. And then I wanted to pull up something to. All right. So, starting with Raw, we've got our world title. We got our mid card title. We got our tag, and we got our.
While you're doing that, I got one other bitch about the draft.
Sure, go ahead.
Wasn't it like 6 weeks ago they were doing this big thing, or maybe it was a little longer because time flies. Where Raw and SmackDown were fighting over who was going to get Braun Breaker, and then SmackDown lands Braun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Big get for old Nick Aldis, correct?
Yes.
And then he leaves him unprotected and just lets him get drafted in like the third round of the draft. Like that's what it's nonsense. It's stupid. It's not exciting. It opens up so many plot holes of like, well, that doesn't really. Why would you draft this one person, knowing that why would you draft one female wrestler when you could get the entire damage control for one pick? Like it none of it makes any sense. It just God, I hated it.
Well, on that note, all right. So for Raw, we got our world champion Damian Priest. We've got Sami Zayn. We've got as the Intercontinental title. We've got our tag champs Awesome Truth, and our women's champion Becky Lynch. So I'm just gonna go down this list here, and we'll kind of banter back and forth of what division, so to speak, we see these people in. So obviously, Jey Uso, he's got the title match on Sunday, so I would say he's probably in the world title division
for 3 more days.
Okay,
and then he can go back to where he belongs.
All right, until his brother comes back, he's in the world title division.
When his brother comes back, he's not in the world title picture. That main event Jey Uso is the most insincere name for a wrestler ever. Like, the dude has an entrance, and that's it. He sucks as a singles competitor. All he can do is go, yeet, and that's it. Like, it's played out for me. Like, I am so done with Jey Uso. I'm glad I'm not watching Raw every week because when he comes on, it's a click off anyway.
Wow. Hater.
Whatever. You saw the Mania match, and then he went, we get cut for time. All the time in the world wasn't saving that piece of shit. That match sucked. He should be ashamed. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, even his niece was bored at ringside watching the match, and his brother had to be like, "Hey, Dad's on the big stage," and the kid's just like, "Yeah, that's cool, Pops. Wake me up when Uncle Oos comes out."
Okay. All right. All right. Seth Rollins. He's obviously world title. Right?
Sure.
Or you got something disparaging to say about him too?
No. Huh.
Okay. Liv Morgan, obviously, women's division.
No, she's Intercontinental champ for sure.
Right, she should be. Ricochet is Intercontinental.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. Lower mid card is
I'm just going I'm just putting everyone in what
title pictures. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, from there it's whatever. But Sheamus, burger after burger.
He's a mid carder.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think right now too. Not for nothing, Raw has a as SRS likes to call it, a sirloin beef son of a bitch division between Sheamus and Drew and Braun and Braun Breaker and like
Bronson Reed and
I think
Otis.
Yeah. So they got some beef over there. Next is
never go ahead. Never mind.
What?
It's like 20 years later and it's still the same. Raw ends up with all the big dudes that don't really like work very well. Like they're fine at what they do, but they're not like all the big dudes always ended up on Raw and all the workers always ended up on SmackDown. And here we are 20 years later and Raw's the show that has all the big dudes. It's kind of funny.
Where was I now? Alpha Academy. So Gable would be in the mid card. And then I guess that would mean Otis and Tozawa would be in the tag.
Yeah. I
mean, yeah. Just for the sake of this exercise. Obviously. Kiana James, that's a NXT call up.
I don't even know who that is.
I was just gonna say the next Kiana James match I see will be my first.
Yeah.
So next, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark are next. They're listed separately, but they've been working tags. So do we want to put them as a tag, or do we want to list them separately?
I mean, you kind of have to, because I would put either one of them near the world title picture. Right. I mean,
okay.
I almost feel like there should be a category for the men and women where it's just like it sounds so disparaging. I don't mean it like, but like they're filler, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got to kill 6 minutes. Who do we get on screen this week? Oh, Shayna hasn't been on. Get out there.
Right.
Like she's solid. You know she's going to go out there and whatever she's going to do isn't going to be terrible, but it's probably not going to be groundbreaking, but she's a professional, right?
Right.
But like Shayna Baszler's not going nowhere near the top of these cards.
Right.
And I wouldn't consider the women's tag title as a top of the card thing either. So
no. Speaking of, we have Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. So those are obviously tag team contenders. Ivar, I would put him in the mid card.
Oh, and another big dude.
Yeah. And then Imperium, so Gunther would be world title for now, which would mean
absolutely world title.
Yeah, which would mean Kaiser is a mid card. Damage Control. So the Kabuki Warriors are the current tag team champions. So that would mean Dakota and Io. We'll put in the women's singles. Where's this guy CM Punk go?
Come on.
I did like that on Raw. They're making the both they're both hurt. They're making the most of this thing, man.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they can. It sounds like they're going to try to drag it out to SummerSlam. Is the last I don't know if you can,
I
but
don't think you can. I think you got to go Money in the Bank. I think Money in the Bank's got to be it because if Punk can go, well, if either of them can go, but if they can go, you got to do Money in the. You can't drag the. You can have a return maybe at SummerSlam, but you can't drag this out till SummerSlam.
I agree. They need to get this match in the ring as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Like as soon as possible because Raw doesn't have anything going for it right now. That I mean, that's to me, that's what it has going is Punk and McIntyre are the only. It's the only really interesting thing on the show right now.
Yeah. Braun Strowman. I guess mid card.
This is the who cares portion of the roster.
Right. At least until what's his face shows up.
Uncle Howdy.
Yeah, Bo Dallas. That's his name. Jesus, the LWO. So Del Toro and Wild are the tag team. I'm impressed I remembered that. I really am.
Didn't Carlito leave the LWO on Friday and then got drafted as a unit on Monday?
Well, I mean, yeah, but he didn't, he didn't file his separation paperwork in time.
Well, I mean, you got people just randomly saying I'm not part of the draft anyway, so.
Yeah. That's a different process.
Sure.
So then Carlito and Ray and Dragon Lee, I'm all going to be in the mid card. And then, what's her face? Zelina we'll put in the women's division. Okay. Drew McIntyre, obviously world title contender. The Judgment Day. We're gonna go with Dom and JD as the tag team, and then we'll put Finn in the mid card.
Put Finn in the world title picture.
You think so?
I think he's a big enough name.
Yeah, we're a little thin in that division anyhow, so that works.
And him and Damian is an easy feud.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, it kind of seems like they're hinting toward anyway.
Yeah. Ilya Dragunov.
See, he's. I mean, the way they work, he's mid card to start.
Yeah.
But like, if you pair him and Gunther, I don't think there's two guys on the roster that can give you a better match together. Like, he's capable of working at the main event level in terms of ring work, but I don't know that he'll get that shot.
Right. New Day, obviously, tag team. Lyra Valkyria.
Kazoon type.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, the Final Testament. AOP tag. And then I guess Cross mid card because I am not putting him in the world title picture.
Man, I didn't realize there were so many uninteresting acts on Monday Night Raw. Like, you keep naming these off, and I'm like, couldn't care less what they do. Like AOP, like I could not care what they were doing.
Right.
Yeah, more big guys though.
Yeah, Big Bronson Reed. Speaking of big guys,
Intercontinental title for sure.
Intercontinental title for sure, and the good old Natty. Caden Carter and Katana Chance. Tag women's tag. Odyssey Jones. He keeps getting drafted but never shows up on TV.
Who?
Yeah. Dijak. I'd love to see him in the world title, but I think like you said with Dragunov, he's gonna be in the mid card when he to start with. But and then we've got the Creed brothers.
Who are going to be your next tag champs?
And Ivy Nile. And New Catch Republic.
Oh God. And to think about them, like, who is that again? And then you're like, oh wait, it's two really like insanely talented wrestlers with the worst name ever.
Yeah, that is a pretty bad name. I don't know what that's all about, but
Man, it's part of a new era.
yeah, right.
Is that newness that they're preaching.
So, to recap for Raw here, for the world title, we have our champion Damian Priest, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, Gunther, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and Finn Balor. It's not a bad world title picture.
No, it's not a bad world title pick. It's not fresh though.
No, other than Gunther.
But well, if he gets there, and Priest being champion is obviously but it's not. It's a lot of recognizable names.
Yeah. In the mid card, we have Sami Zayn as your Intercontinental Champion, and so we've got Ricochet, Sheamus, Chad Gable, Ivar, Ludwig Kaiser, Braun Strowman, Carlito, Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee, Ilya Dragunov, Karrion Kross, Bronson Reed, Odyssey Jones, and Dijak. In the tag team division, we have the champions Awesome Truth, Otis and Tozawa, Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro, Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough, The New Day, Authors of Pain, Creed Brothers, and New Catch Republic. The women's division, champion Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan, Kiana James, Dakota Kai, Io Sky, Zelina Vega, Lyra Valkyria, Natalia, and Ivy Nile. And in the women's tag team, we've got Kabuki Warriors, Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, and Caden Carter and Katana Chance.
I feel like when the Kabuki Warriors drop the belts this weekend, Asuka needs to be catapulted to the top of the women's world title picture.
Yeah, I mean, they could do that too.
Reading off those names, I think you've got two interesting matchups right now until Rhea comes back, and I don't think you can blow Liv Morgan's title win on Becky. So Becky needs a program to work with someone where she's got a serious contender. It's Asuka. Then when Rhea comes back, you can pick up where you wanted to go with her and Liv. I think we both agree the big payoff is Liv getting the belt, right?
Yeah, I think she is getting it from Becky though. And then Rhea will come back looking for revenge. Just not only for her title, but also to get Dom back as well.
Yeah.
Because it certainly looks like they're going in that direction as well.
Sure.
All right, so SmackDown. we've got our world champion Cody Rhodes, U.S. champion Logan Paul, tag team champions A-Town Down Under, women's champion Bayley, and the women's tag team titles carry over, so the Kabuki Warriors are here as well.
Ever.
Bianca. So this is where it's going to be weird. So Bianca Belair and Jade are obviously listed separately, but they're going to be going for the tag team, and it's presumably winning the tag team titles on Saturday. So do we want to list them as singles, or do we want to list them as a tag team? Or I guess we could list them as both.
Yeah, Bianca's the world title. Like she's your biggest draw, so she's got to be at the top, of the women's title. Even if she's only doing this with the tag titles for a little bit, she's a main event piece for them.
Okay, yeah, we'll list them as both. That's fine. Carmelo Hayes. That is a U.S. title contender, I believe. Randy Orton. World title.
Curtain jerker.
Nia Jax.
Who gives a crap?
I like
Nia.
Yeah. L.A. Knight. What do we do with him?
Mid card.
Yeah. I think you're right.
They've made it very clear where they're slotting him
in. The bloodline of I guess we put them in the tag team. Solo and
See, I would just put the bloodline as a main event act. They're not chasing the title right now, but it's clearly like there's going to be two focal points of SmackDown for the next 6 months: Cody's run and the bloodline. Like the bloodline, Roman's not there, and it's still getting the biggest chunk of TV time besides Cody.
So do you want to put Solo in the world title and then Tama Tonga in the mid-card title then?
I say you just put bloodline in general as a world title part. It's going to be a focal point. This is where the title thing doesn't work, because they're not going to be chasing the world title. But again, outside of Cody, what is going to be the biggest story going forward on SmackDown for the next year?
I just want to look at see where like who could possibly be vying for these titles here in the future. That's kind of my thing with this actually.
Like, then Solo in the world and Tama in the U.S. title.
Okay.
But I don't think either one of those are actually going to be their focal points for now.
Probably not, but yeah, I mean, and a lot of it will depend too on when and if what's his face shows up. Jacob
Fatu, yeah.
All right. AJ Styles, world title. Have you? So they put out this little like vlog of him like training for the match, where he does like a cold plunge, and he's like,
God.
Yeah, 4 minutes in here, and the endorphins you get when you get out of here, just. So he gets out of this cold tub and he like is just like, like holy hell. Andrade, mid card. The OC, so Good Brothers tag team.
So I legit, like, right before Mania, there was I was thinking about, like, changes in wrestling. for some reason, I thought they had been fired again and weren't even with the company. For like a good week and a half, I was operating under the assumption that they weren't even with the company. Or I was like, man, I wonder when Talking Shop's coming back. And then I started looking it up, and I'm like, oh, they're still with.
Yeah.
I thought they had been fired again.
No, I got a feeling Triple H will fire almost anybody else besides them this time.
After the last time?
After the last time, yeah.
Whatever.
Good old Baron Corbin kind of resurrected himself in
yeah, he's U.S. title because
I totally did. I missed Braun Breaker in the Raw.
On Raw.
Yeah, so he's mid card for right now. Not for long, I don't think, but for right now he's in that intercontinental title picture.
Sure.
I think that's where Baron would be on SmackDown too.
Yeah, he's U.S. title. Like, he's proven, man, for a guy that, like, when he was in NXT and they, like, everyone chanted, "You can't wrestle," and, like, he was rough there for a little bit, man. He's put together a really nice little career in WWE. He's, been on the main roster for what, 6-7 years now? Like,
yeah,
he's solid. It's good for him.
And then we have the tag team of Cedric Alexander and Ashanti the Adonis.
Sure.
The aforementioned Jade Cargill.
Main event. Women's World title picture.
Kevin Owens.
He's a world title. He's a challenger, but he's not a realistic challenger.
He's their version of Cesaro.
I think he's the new Jericho in a sense too.
Right.
He's done so much in the company of, like, he doesn't need a title to be interesting, and you can put him with anybody and it becomes interesting.
The Pride. So Bobby Lashley. I know you don't think that, but I think he's probably slotted in the world title.
Sure.
And then the Street Profits tag team. It's Tiffy time. Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah. Obviously, world title scene.
I think they should leave it on Bayley, but I would not be a bit surprised if she wins the title on Saturday.
Really?
Strap the rocket to her. See what happens. Strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah. I feel like if it were anybody but Bayley as at having just won the belt, we'll get there because we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Legado del Fantasma. So obviously we got the tag team of Angel and Berto. There we go. Santos. Mid card.
Yeah.
Shinsuke mid card.
I think he's going to get a world title shot against AJ soon, or against Cody soon after AJ.
You want to put him in the world title then?
I really do think that's where they're going to put him. It'll be another Cody. Had the little feud with him in January of this year. They can lean back on that for a little bit. It's another person for Cody to beat that isn't too high up on the card.
Naomi. And then Chelsea Green and Piper Niven as a tag team. the tag team of Pretty Deadly. I wish
I've
they'd
only
get
ever
it.
seen I've only ever seen their YouTube and like TikTok stuff.
They're great. They're hilarious.
Yeah.
And then we got Candice and Indy.
Oh, that's right. They did get drafted.
Yes, they got
Oh,
drafted because DIY got
DIY.
drafted.
I was just gonna say, oh, that makes sense then because
And then we've got Blair Davenport.
back in my day, we didn't bring our women on the road with us. Anyway, sorry. I don't know who that is. Who you just said?
I can't remember her name before she came to WWE. She used to, her and Osprey used to be a thing.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay.
And then Apollo Crews.
Is that Allie Catch?
No. That's someone completely different. Apollo Crews, mid card.
I didn't even know he was still with the company either.
Giovanni Vinci, mid card. And then Tegan Knox. All right. So, to recap on SmackDown here. World title picture. We have your champion, Cody Rhodes. And then we've got Randy Orton, Solo Sikoa, AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, Bobby Lashley, and Shinsuke Nakamura. U.S. title champion Logan Paul, Carmelo Hayes, LA Knight, Tama Tonga, Andrade, Baron Corbin, Santos Escobar, Apollo Crews, Giovanni Vinci. Tag team titles, A-Town Down Under are your tag team champions. Then we've got the Good Brothers, Cedric Alexander and Ashanti the Adonis. Street Profits, Angel and Berto, Pretty Deadly and DIY. In the women's world title, we've got the champion Bayley, Bianca Belair, Nia Jax, Michin, Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, Blair Davenport, and Tegan Knox. And then the women's tag, again, champion Kabuki Warriors. We have Bianca and Jade, Chelsea and Piper Niven, and Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. So,
feel like that main event seems a little weak.
Yeah. This tells me Cody's holding the belt till Mania.
Yeah.
And then Gunther can win the Rumble. And then come over.
Maybe.
I mean, unless you do Solo. But
there's two names we're kind of forgetting. Like, maybe we get Rock Roman at Mania, but maybe Dwayne says I'm coming back and I'm starting my program in the summer, but I'm wrestling Cody for the belt at Mania next year.
I guess. I don't know. It's just crazy to me if that's the direction they go, because then it's just like, okay, all right, so yeah, I don't know. That's just that'd be weird to me, but it could very well happen. So
I was thinking Gunther might end up on SmackDown and end up as Cody's big feud.
Yeah, I was,
but I think the more I thought about it, I'm like, no, it's Dwayne. It's gonna be Dwayne. The big thing for Cody is gonna be either SummerSlam or Mania is Dwayne. I don't know that Dwayne's gonna be back in time to do SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And he's such an egomaniac. He's such, he's on the board, so he's got all those people, the entire company is owned and operated by people that love him. he's gonna be able to be like, look, I came back. It was the biggest WrestleMania ever. You want to do this gate again? It's me and Cody. It should be him and Roman, but if Brock is going to be the biggest star on it, who do you want to make? Do you want to make Roman even bigger because Roman is family, or do you want to make the guy who's going to be here for the next 10 years, who isn't flirting with Hollywood, who isn't kind of ready to become an attraction, so to speak? I don't know. If Cody doesn't go over Rocket Mania next year, and he's losing to Gunther, doesn't that kind of kill all of the he's the biggest babyface they've had in 20 years and all of that? Because Cena always typically pulled it out at Mania. Hogan always pulled it out at Mania. Austin was always good. If this is your next babyface, he's got to win the big one on the biggest stage. And if he's doing that, aren't you going to have him go over the biggest star in the world?
That's fair. That's a fair point. That is a fair point. But I guess we'll see. I don't know. That's just, yeah, I don't know.
I would do something of the sort of you get the Raw World title on Gunther as quick as you can, and have him restart another one of these runs where he's wrecking everybody. And then maybe you've got Braun Breaker's ready by Mania of next year,
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe Ilya is they've elevated him because they want to do a new era thing. I would. You're telling me if it was Gunther and Drew for the world title, people wouldn't be excited, or Gunther and Seth,
right? Yeah.
So I feel like you got to get the belt on him now, get him going. Like Damian Priest, I don't think he's your long-term solution or your long-term focal point for world champ.
Sure. Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I think he's, a stopgap or whatnot, but that's not a bad thing. Yeah, I think Gunther's going to win the King of the Ring thing they're doing.
You should win Money in the Bank, too.
Just win everything.
Well, no. Go ahead. Say your thing, because I had an idea for something.
And then, yeah, and maybe they go old school with it, and the winner of King of the Ring gets a title shot at SummerSlam or something like that. So, go ahead. Now.
I was thinking you have Gunther win the Money in the Bank, and then he comes out, he says, I'm the Ring General. I'm not cashing in when someone is already beaten. I'm cashing in ahead of time and telling you when I'm picking my match. And then he just beats the guy clean in the middle of the ring.
Bash at Berlin.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm doing it over there. Whomever's champion, come get it. But I'm calling it now. And shit, you're telling me him and Drew for the world title, and that crowd would go freaking ape shit? Like, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Wembley, what?
Right. So yeah, we can do some of this next week. But I'm thinking, like, if you have Drew win the belt in Scotland, but that's all. Then if you turn around, that's almost too much going back and forth with the belt.
They've had some pretty lengthy title runs. You've kind of built up the goodwill where you can bounce it back and forth a little bit for a short time.
And if Cody holds the other belt for the better part of the year, then yeah, that balances out.
And when it's done right, Flair and Steamboat, like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
When it's done right, it's not a bad thing to have a bounce back and forth.
Right. No, for sure. All right, let's talk about this Backlash real quick, and then we can talk Alliance. Let's see. Off the top of my dome, obviously we've got Cody versus AJ for the world title. I think we both expect Cody to win, but I'm looking forward to this match. It's two of my favorite guys, so let's go.
Right. I'm just in a real cynical mood about wrestling right now, but like,
you are.
I feel like it's going to
be you're very sour.
I feel like it's going to be a really good match that people are going to be like, oh my god, because that's what happens
No,
now.
we're not
Every
allowed to do
good
that because if we do that, then people are like, huh, well, did you? Obviously, you didn't.
Danielson
Yeah,
Ospreay,
exactly.
the greatest wrestling match that's ever happened in North America in front of 500 people.
Jesus.
Uh,
It was an excellent match.
I haven't seen it. I found an illegal stream of it. I got 10 minutes into it, paused it when I came back and been told. Like, damn it. Um, no, I think Cody and AJ is going to be a good match. Um, Cody's winning. Like there's no, but I feel like people are going to be like, oh, it was so good, and it's going to be a solid, solid match.
Yeah.
I honestly hope they don't try to do anything too crazy because he tried to do something on Friday and almost blew his shoulder out. How awful would that have been?
That would have, yeah. Yeah, no.
You end Roman's streak and he gets hurt in his first televised match.
You did a belly flop.
Right. And then there's Damian and
Jey Uso for the world title.
Curtain jerker Jey Uso. That's another. It's another one where like there's no question what's going to happen. Like Priest is walking out with the belt, so
yeah.
My only question is, do Solo and Tama show up and cost him?
Yeah, maybe. Could be. Yeah, that's an interesting thought there. But yeah, Damian Priest retains here. I don't think there's any question about that. Then we got the triple threat: Bayley versus Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton for the WWE Women's Championship. I'm with you. Bayley should retain. However, it's not like she was never champion before. She just never had a WrestleMania moment.
Yeah, but I feel like if it were anybody but Bayley right now, because you just turned her face too,
sure,
right? So like I feel like if it were anybody but Bayley that has kind of for years been overlooked and not really been treated like a star, Triple H has always kind of known it. I don't think he's going to take this away from her right away. Like, if anyone were going to do it and make it great, it would be Bayley because everything she does it to like the max, and she always gets the most out of it. I don't hate the idea of hot shotting it to Tiffany. I just if it were a different champion,
yeah,
I'd be all for it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Bayley should retain.
Of course, I'm right.
I know. For the women's tag team champions, we have the Kabuki Warriors defending against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. Yeah, I think Bianca and Jade are winning this.
Yeah.
And then Randy Orton and Kevin Owens taking on the Bloodline. I think
Bloodline has to win.
Yeah.
And this is where Fatu shows up.
Probably.
Introduce a new member, and then they come out and screw Jay later in the night. Like, what the hell are these guys doing back out here again? Blah, blah, blah.
Cover your ears or whatever if you don't want to hear potential spoilers. But I guess, okay. I guess Cena is in France, and so is Charlotte.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. And like I said, if you want to hear more of my thoughts on Backlash, tune into Late Night Grin Friday night at 10:30 at Late Night Grin on YouTube. So, all right. Oh, I did that whole thing, didn't I? Yeah, there's the Backlash logo for everyone. Okay, now that's gone. All right. Lions. Big draft last week.
It was a big week.
Yeah.
The 2 days before the draft were pretty
sure.
insane too.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously, yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about that last week. So yeah, they re-signed Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Penei Sewell to record-breaking deals for their positions. I think the St. Brown one was like the next day.
48 hours, yeah.
Yeah. Which is fine. Like, whatever.
No, it's perfect. Yeah. It's absolutely perfect. They literally got to go to Amon-Ra and be like, we're going to give you the largest contract ever for a wide receiver. And then the next day, it was already surpassed, so they don't have to worry about competing with the Jamar Chase contract or the Justin Jefferson. Brad just, he does it. He did it again.
Yes.
He set the market for himself on the surface, but he already knew the market wasn't going to be that. It was so good. Oh, I love it.
Yep. And then the draft in Detroit. And man, Detroit showed out. It was awesome. Record attendance.
It looked so cool.
It did.
It looked so cool.
It did. If it wasn't for the fact that I would be miserable amongst that many people, it's like I'd really like to be there, but I really wouldn't like to be there.
Right. Like, I love the visual. I love the city. But I've been around drunk Detroiters, and it's not how I want to spend my evening.
Right. But yeah, the opening was, I didn't see like the very beginning with where it was just Eminem or whatever, but yeah, seeing Calvin and Barry with Hutch and Amon-Ra and Goff, like that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the whole thing of it, and like the Amon-Ra taking the mic and just like embracing the Jared Goff thing. Like I was watching it with Holly, and she was like, I'm do you think the players are getting sick of Jared Goff getting all this attention? And I'm like, no, not at all. No. And then it was like 5 minutes later that happened. And it was like, how many diva wide receivers in the NFL would be salty that they're not getting all the attention?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not chanting, Amon-Ra. Not him. He's like, let's let everyone know how much we love this dude.
Yeah.
And let's get him his money next.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw, he was Sun God was on RG3's podcast, and he was talking about the Rams game, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but basically the gist of it was Jared was trying to downplay it all week and whatnot, and basically Amon-Ra had the basically was like, fuck that. We're going to win this game for you.
Yeah, I did see that clip.
It's like, yeah. No, that's his dude. I mean, that is his guy.
I don't know. We're supposed to be talking draft, but Amon-Ra did an interview too where he was talking about how like he didn't want to come to Detroit. Mm-hmm. It was the last place he wanted to come to. And then he gets drafted. They bring in Jared, and both of their lives have completely changed based on that relationship, like the trajectory of the team, all of it. So it's awesome that it seems like this team is just so bought in for each other. So
yeah. And then Penei, like, I mean, we were talking, I don't remember if I said it here on the pod or not, but when the uniforms dropped, and I was like, well, I'm not buying a jersey because I'm banned from buying current jerseys. But if I were to buy a jersey, it'd be a Penei Sewell jersey.
Yeah,
he's like watching that Inside the Den, like he is. I just want a supercut of just his pregame speeches.
Right.
That's.
But I want the unedited one. Yes, exactly. I want to hear
all the F-bombs. Yeah. But he's like the emotional leader of that team.
I feel like obviously the championships and everything and the individual glory will be different. He's Steve Yzerman. He's getting Steve. It was like when the Wings got Steve Yzerman and the identity of the team changed.
Yeah, first draft.
They brought Penei in. And he came in right away and set a tone, and the rest of the team is catching up to that tone. it's an awful lot like Stevie Y to me. He's the unquestioned leader when it comes to like he's who you follow. You go be like him. So and they got him. He's locked up till 29 now.
Mm-hmm.
And they again, Brad, with this contract moves of like picking up the option is actually going to save them money, so it's not going to cost them nearly as much as it would have. Like the way they structured it, they're going to have all the money left to pay Jared, to pay Hutch, pay Brian Brandt. Like this thing is so laid out perfectly to keep their top guys in play for the next 5-6 years. Unbelievable job.
Yeah.
And the draft only to me sped up this process. And if you want to get into the draft now, I can explain what Terry and Arnold like should have been arguably could have been a top 10 pick. Top 50. Everyone thought he was going to be top 15, and he slid.
He was either, depending. A lot of people had Quinion Mitchell, but he was either the number 1 or number 2 cornerback on most people's boards.
I'm sorry and I know it doesn't always translate the level of competition. If you're telling me I've got 2 guys that are 1A and 1B, one of them played in the MAC and one of them played in the SEC. Sorry,
hey,
give me the SEC guy. Sure. Like it whatever. But getting Terry and Arnold and I know you had kind of texted me like after the second round pick, like how many DBs? Like it's just going to be a team full of defensive backs, but like Carlton Davis is expendable now. Right. If he doesn't work out or unless he just has an unbelievable season, you can just let him walk now. Right. And you've got young, controllable talent at cornerback. You can save that $17 million a year. Plus, you're getting that money from Cam Sutton. I think post June 1st is when they can file that grievance.
Right.
And I think they can get like 80% of his money off the books. They're going to be able to clear like $25 million in cap space from their defensive back rooms and replace them with 2 young, unquestioned like NFL talents. They gotta prove it, but like this draft made their team better immediately and sets them up for long-term success.
Right.
And gives them the financial flexibility to keep their core in place, which most teams in the NFL can't do. It's unbelievable what they did last week.
Yeah. In the short term, it was, they've got depth now, which is what they didn't have aside from the position just not being good to start with. Then you start losing guys. And it's, so now you have depth. You have Carlton Davis. You have Mosley, whatever he's going to be coming off another ACL. But you have those guys on top of Arnold and Rakestraw.
Yeah.
So
it's and what's a little concerning. I don't know if you saw the photo. Brian Branch is in a boot. Brian Branch did something to his left leg that hasn't been reported on. Yeah. They caught a picture of him and Arnold meeting up, and he's like on one of those. Oh, you're familiar. The little cart. Yeah. You walk your knee on it. So that's a little concerning, but like Brian Branch is still going to be developing. When he's been on the field, has been outstanding. Joseph is 3 years into a pretty solid career. Mm-hmm. Like they've got so much talent back there now.
The dude the same from the Raiders too.
Alexander, isn't that his name?
Yeah, I think so.
He's a slot corner. He's like
he can't play outside though too.
Right, but he's better in the slot, and by drafting Arnold, now they have a man guy on the outside that they can, we think they can rely on. So, and I love Arnold's swagger.
Oh yeah,
I love the trash talk, but he's also like, it seems like he's a team-oriented guy, and like I want to get better every day for my team, like. Mm-hmm. But then he's also like, I'm going to be Deion Sanders because I put on a show every time I go out there. Like, give me that.
Yeah. It was just watching that first round, how it was playing out. and we got, I can't remember what pick it was when I sent you the text, like, oh my God, like this might actually happen.
Yeah, I think you said I'm at the point. I'll pull it up.
Yeah.
But
anyways, first of all, thank you Atlanta, thank you Denver for reaching on those two quarterbacks on Penix and Bo Nix. Just thank you so much, and everyone else who drafted all offense for like the first, what was it, 14 picks was all offense.
Yes.
Thank you to all those teams.
At 10:53 on the night of the draft, you texted me, I'm at the point that I want them to trade up for Arnold.
Yeah.
And then I said, I agree, but I'm guessing they're dropping back. And then my next text was, TK is an idiot, but I love it.
Okay.
So there was some wrestling talk on draft night.
Sure. So where did Jacksonville pick? Like
2021.
Okay. So it was probably in the late teens then when I was like, yeah, maybe this is just trade up and get him. And then Jacksonville picked, and then Eagles took Mitchell at 22. And I'm like, okay. And then what was it? 24 is where they traded up to?
Yeah, they jumped in front of the Packers.
Yeah. And then they're like, there's been a trade. Dallas traded the 24th pick to Detroit. And I'm like, oh,
they're doing
my
it.
God, they're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, there we go. So yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, and then they back it up with Rakestraw the next day, and I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, it's, if you need something, don't get just one, get two.
Well, and the look, we're out. I know some people are like, well, they could have got someone on the defensive line, or they could have gone, interior offensive lineman. But like everyone knew coming out of last year, the secondary was the biggest weakness in the entire team. You can't say they didn't throw everything they had at trying to fix it now.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But they didn't ignore the problem.
Right. If it doesn't work and it's still, well, they're not going to pass rush, well, then they can address that. But yes, like a pass rush will help your defensive backs in coverage, but it also can work the other way too. If you've got good cover guys that, make it so that the quarterback just has to stand in the back there for longer trying to find an open receiver, that gives your rushers time to get to the quarterback.
And look, they didn't sign DJ Reader thinking he wasn't going to make Hutch better. Like, these quarterbacks aren't going to have, theoretically, with McNeil and Reader in the middle there, they're not going to have room to step up and slide away from Hutch, which is what they all do. They throw a double team on him. He still breaks it, but they're able to step up and move to whatever side of the field he's not on, and they're good. If McNeil and Reader are pushing that pocket backwards, the only place for the quarterback to go is to the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And you're either going to run into Hutch or you're going to have James Houston in a one-on-one on the other side.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the I think I think people are underestimating, or maybe, because it was only like half a season, so I get it. But they obviously believe that a fully healthy James Houston is exactly what they need on the opposite end of Hutch.
Right.
So,
right.
And given their track record, I am inclined to believe them.
And with how with how well they've done with blitzing safeties the back half of last season, Branch and Iffy specifically, like, okay, you could, if you want to go four wide, go four wide, but you're gonna need to leave your back in the backfield because we're gonna bring a safety blitz, and that means somebody's in a one-on-one, and the last thing you want against Aiden Hutchinson is a one-on-one.
Yep.
So I feel like they've set themselves up. They're in a really good position. I keep seeing the Super Bowl odds, and the Lions are one of the favorites. Forgive me. Who are you picking to beat them this season, based on what has happened in the offseason? I don't think anybody in the NFC's gotten better than the Lions did.
Oh, you didn't hear? We're in trouble. We had a nice little 1-year run in the division, but the Packers are gonna reclaim their throne, and the Bears are gonna be a problem with Caleb Williams.
Sure.
So I don't know if you heard that.
I've heard lots of things.
Yeah, they're second to win the NFC right now, behind the Niners.
I saw other things, but it's social media, so it's all nonsense. But like, oh, the Eagles retooled their secondary; they're going to be way better. Like, I don't see it. Dallas doesn't bother me.
Oh yeah, Dallas is done. Dallas is done. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
They're still. So they re-signed Zeke this week.
Yeah, I know.
They still have dead cap
from him
on this year.
Jerry Jones he's a Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah. Did you hear the Tepper story? The David Tepper story?
Oh yeah, about going into the restaurant to ask for them to take down the mean sign about his football team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's at least he's not throwing drinks on people.
Right. So what do you feel? So I know a lot of people, or not a lot of people, there are people concerned that they traded so many picks in next year's draft to trade up to draft some of these projects. How are you feeling about it?
I'm not worried about it because who's to say Brad doesn't trade somebody to get some picks back? They've got a lot of depth at secondary now, in theory. I trust what the guy's doing.
Yeah,
and is what it comes down to. And again, they've got so much wiggle room with the cap going forward, even if they extend Goff. Like, I'm glad that he went and got guys that he thinks can help them and that they can develop for the long term. And if it doesn't work out, they're going to have the money to find people that do fit in there. I see a lot of, they didn't address the offensive line. They're not going to have depth. What happens when Frank retires? What happens when they let Taylor Decker walk? And
that's what they drafted that 6'8" Oos for.
Sure, right. But also, they're going to have money to go get more veteran offensive linemen to come in while they develop those projects. You can't have, in a salary cap era, you can't just have depth at every position. You've got to kind of stagger it out.
Yeah.
And in 4 or 5 years, they're going to have a problem with paying all these defensive backs. And that's where you're going to hope that your offensive line projects have worked out. So I'm not going to worry about what happens next year for the draft when it looks like they're in a really good position to get where where we all ultimately want to see them. And if they get to that spot, I don't give a shit about any draft ever. I just need to see it once.
Right.
Get me it once, and I don't care. I don't care what it takes to get the one.
You say that now, but once you get that taste,
then we could talk about this for hours. But just the fact that they're in the conversation is something we've never experienced.
Sure.
Get me the one. Do the Rams thing. Trade the next 3 seasons. If it gets you the guy, if it gets you the big one, I don't care.
F them picks. No, my only slight concern, and it's not a very big one, because Holmes doesn't really conduct business this way anyways, but B, so my thing is, if they have an injury or something and they need to make a move at the deadline, it kind of limits what they're able to do as far as a trade goes. But again, that's a very minor concern, one that probably won't even have any bearing on the season. But
And again, they have one thing that's more valuable than draft picks, and that's cap space.
well, you can't trade cap space at the trade deadline.
No, but you can trade 6th-round picks to teams that just want to get rid of cap space and are just like, this guy's a headache. We need to get him the hell out of here. He doesn't want to play here. I mean, that's how Randy Moss ends up getting moved for a 4th-round pick. Like, you find a guy in the right situation where it's like, makes too much money. We can't afford to have him around. He's a problem in the locker room. Maybe Devontae Adams is like, I'm sick of Aiden O'Connell. I'm sick of Jimmy G. I'm sick of Derek Carr. Get me a real quarterback again, and demands to get out of the Raiders. And the Raiders are like, all right, we'll take a 4th-round pick to get him off the books and to get him out of here. You know, the Lions are in the position where they can take on a big contract because they've got the cap space. And it's not so much about the pick as it is, we just got to get this guy out of here. The Stephon Diggs situation. Right. Buffalo didn't want to lose Stephon Diggs, but they knew he was going to be a headache and be a problem. So they had to get what they could get for him.
Right. Yeah. Well, but again, if a player's a headache and a problem, chances are they're not trading for him here. But yeah, like I said, it was very minor. Other than that, it doesn't really bother me. Again, their development track record with these guys speaks for itself. And so I'm just, yeah.
And the most important thing, they've got their number 1 pick.
Yep.
So you haven't and I think that's part of the sycophant, the 365-day-a-year NFL fandom now is people stress over things that are just not, they gave up too many day 2 picks. Like, so what? If these guys turn out to be your starting 1 and 2 corners for the next 4 seasons, who cares? Like, if you didn't get enough depth in rounds, 3 and 4 over the years, like, shut up.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, anything else draft or Lions related?
No, I don't think so.
Get this golf done.
Yeah, they got to get that's the next domino to fall. And I really don't think it's that far away. To me, I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to do some voodoo on the cap, figure out a way. Like, they already know what the terms are, but how do we structure this thing the right way to set us up for the future? And Jared's like, cool, as long as I'm getting my money,
Just as long as someone else doesn't sneak in and make a deal, and then he goes, well, wait a minute. Hold on a minute, player. Gives him the Teddy Long.
Yeah, I mean, if the rumors are true that he's looking for 45 to 50 a year, like, I think he's being pretty realistic. Like, he recognizes, and we've talked about this, I think he recognizes, like, if I go in and ask for a Jalen Hurts deal, they're not going to have enough money to put players around me. And then, we're not going to win and I'll get blamed for it. And, the cap isn't a real thing. I won't see the end of my contract if I don't play well. So I won't get all $200 million, So I'm not worried about what his asking price is going to be.
That's fair. All right. Well, that'll do it for tonight or this week. We'll be back next week talking about who knows what, but we'll be here. Please like and subscribe here to the channel and all that stuff. And again, just a reminder, 10:30 Friday night, Late Night Grin on Twitch and YouTube. Me, Joe Holbert, Robert O'Neill and the Oracle of Wrestling all breaking down this Backlash card on Saturday. So, should be a lot of fun. I'm sure we'll be talking about, be telling some Mania stories from that I shared here as well, and who knows where the conversation goes.
I was gonna ask, are you guys even like how do you get to like 2 hours plus with a 5-match card where all of the matches are pretty clear what's gonna happen?
Right. Well, we'll see. We'll see where the conversation takes us.
I was gonna think, luckily, you guys are all good at the shenanigans, and it's always entertaining stuff. So, like, I feel like there's a lot of stretching if you're trying to make time on this.
We'll give Bob
card.
We'll give Bob 10 minutes to talk about the staying power of the final testament and all that kind of stuff.
There you go.
Well, we got it. Yeah. We'll be fine. It'll be good. This will be a fun time. So check it out. So, all right. Until next time, then, everyone. See ya.